everyone, welcome back to Alchemy with Zero Phase. This is Eric, and we are going to be talking about an extension called IReplacer. This will be a tutorial on how to get it installed, how to use it, and hopefully how to get the best results from it, and really what it's used for. So, as you can see, I've already got it installed. IReplacer actually came out a while ago as an extension, but it does get updated pretty often. It's got some good support. And it's pretty straightforward to install. There are a few things you got to watch for. But what this does, this is the, how do I put this? You have an image, you got something you want to change in the image. Instead of inpainting it yourself, trying to adjust that, you just basically tell it what you want it to find in the image, what to replace it with, and you can adjust some of the settings. Okay. So to get this one installed, you're going to go to your extensions, go under Available, load from, type in IReplacer. Did I spell it right? IReplacer. Yeah. Oh, you know what? It's probably not showing up because I've already got it installed. So, yeah, let's go to installed, and I'll just take you to the GitHub for it because there are some things I need you to pay attention to on this. Let's go over here. So on their page, they do give you some instructions on how to install it and how to use it. There's a couple of things with this. There's two different installations. Really, the one that you want to focus on is this first one. This deals with getting it installed and not having to deal with video. Now, this thing does have the ability to manipulate video if you want to dive into that. That's not the focus of this video. So install the, you need the Segment Anything extension. Okay. This is another extension that is utilized actually in a couple of other extensions, including the Inpaint Anything extension, which I've gone over before. So you want to make sure that you have the Segment Anything extension installed. It's right here. I can try leaving the links to these in the description. Okay. Once you get that installed, you're going to want to download the associated PTH model files. They do provide links for them down here. I think by default, if you download all three of these in each of these categories, the one it uses by default is the -H, which is fine. It seems to work great for everything I'm doing. So, but I downloaded them all. And then you're going to want to put those files into you go to your extensions folder in the root of your Stable Diffusion folder. Go to extensions, the SD Web UI Segment Anything extension. Then there's a folder called Models, and then a folder called SAM. Save all those PTH files into that folder. Okay. Now, they also recommend getting, if you want a faster high-res fix, meaning because it'll do a high-res fix on the image, or to upscale a little bit, you can download the LCM LoRa SDV15 as well and put it in your models/LoRa folder. Then you install this extension. Reload the UI, and it'll go through a series of installs. Now, there is one setting that you need to make sure that there's oh, I can't remember the name of the, hold on, let me see if I can find it. So during the install of the software, you know, when you're loading your web UI back up and it's going through and grabbing everything that it needs, it's going to install something called Grounding Dino. Now, if you have Inpaint Anything already installed or the Segment Anything installed, you may already have the local installation of this. I'm not sure what it's trying to do during the installation. What I found out is if you go under your settings, go down to Uncategorized, go down to Segment Anything, and then put a check in here. It says use local grounding Dino to bypass a C++ problem. There's some sort of weird issue, and this was their, I guess, their workaround. Apply that settings, maybe restart your user interface, let it reinstall or readjust anything it needs to, and you should be good to go. Okay, once you get that done, then you're ready to rock and roll. And what I mean by that is we're going to pick a picture. Give me just a second to find one. Okay, I think this one will work good for what we want to do in here. So what I've got is a picture of a young girl holding a couple of bundles of balloons, a green dress, some boots, whatever. Okay, now let's say we want to change one particular aspect of this image. We don't want to inpaint it. Okay, let's go in here. We're going to go type in what we want it to identify first. So let's try the boots. So let's try brown boots. And what I want to replace it with are, I don't know, black, I'm not a footwear person, I'm sorry. Let's try a black socks. And then I'm not going to change anything right now. I'm going to show you the advanced options here soon. Let's just hit run on this. So what this will do on the back end is it will it loads the model, identifies things in it, and then it will, once it identifies what you're talking about, it creates a mask for that. And there's some adjustments you can do on the mask if it doesn't give you what you want. And then it will pop out the result, which isn't what we're looking for. So what we need to do, here's a little tip. When you're working with this and working with human figures, it does have the ability to tie into ControlNet, and I recommend doing this. So we're going to go to ControlNet, Enable Pixel Perfect, and then just enable Open Pose. Okay, let's rerun that. Each successive run after the first one should go a bit quicker. So we'll see what it does here. A little bit better. Oh, you know what? I forgot here. So we are not using an inpainting model. So again, anytime you're doing anything that deals with inpainting, whether you're manually inpainting, using a detailer like in my previous video, or doing inpaint anything, but also in Replacer, make sure you're using an inpainting model. So we're going to go up and use our Dreamshaper XL Lightning inpainting. Run that again. Apologize for that. That should have been something I should have noticed right off the bat. Should go pretty quick though. And there it goes. There you go. Now, it's not the best of anything, so I didn't specify. What we'll do is we'll do girl in black socks. Let's try that. I mean, it's not bad, but those legs are kind of manly. I don't know what's up with that. I actually have an extension that I use that I had to do a custom modification on the coding in order to get it to work right. And so that's why you saw the button over here switch from interrupt, skip, to back to run, even though it was still running. It has some sort of weird glitch with that every once in a while, but there you go. So now that we have that set up, we can actually do some very interesting stuff. Let's do balloons. I think that's how you spell it. And we're going to do, what's something you could replace those balloons with? Let's just replace them all with green balloons. What's interesting about this is I don't need ControlNet on for this part of it, but I'm not going to worry. I don't think it's going to affect us too much with what we're trying to do here. So let's see what it does. It's going to completely change the balloons. There we go. So what it did is it created this mask that kind of covered her face. That's why her face is kind of messed up now. And just created a couple of large green balloons. So I wasn't very specific about what I wanted. So obviously it found the balloons and it replaced the balloons. So what we want to do, if we want to get a better beat on that, let's just do a lot of small green balloons. Not sure if that's going to be any better. We'll try something else. I mean, you get the idea with this. This is a lot of fun. This is like that. I don't know. There's some online services where you can generate images, and they give you this option. It's a little quirky, And I'm still playing with it because I'm actually very excited about this one, because this one actually comes with an API backend. And I will be tying it into my, I think I will be tying it into my prompt generator, so that as you generate images, there will be another section down here that says replace, and then you specify what you want to replace with, and then what you want to replace whatever it was you wanted with. So that'll be a little bit. Kind of frustrating. I want a bunch of balloons, and it's not giving me a bunch of balloons. It's really weird. I think we'll move on to something else if this doesn't work. Yeah, that's better. Anyway, okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to type in young woman. We're going to type in young man in a suit. So let's dive into some of the more advanced functionality here. Open this up. And we're going to change a few things. We are using an SDXL inpainting model, so we're going to drop this down to 8. We're going to use a turbo sampler. We're going to use the Euler A. Config scale, definitely drop that down. We're going to do 4. And then the width and height, again, we're using an SDXL inpainting model. We're going to do 1024 by 1024. That may be one of the reasons why it's having a hard time with getting the amount of detail in there. And then we're not going to mess with the upscaler. We don't need to mess with this right here. This is if you are not wanting to switch this model up here from your standard model that you would use. You can actually override it down here under the advanced settings. You just put a check right here under override stable diffusion model, and then select your inpainting model or whatever other model you want to put there if you think something will do better. So we're going to do that. Let's go ahead and put in the poor quality, low res detection. So there's a lot of options here. A lot of these are standard options. Like this is what you would normally see under the text to image. Detection is just how confident it is in what it finds. How much you want to expand the mask. So it's going to expand it by 35 pixels to try and take in things around it. You can bring this down or bring it up or whatever you want. So let's just put it at 20 for right now. These we don't really need to mess with. These are the models. You can if you want. Like I said, I found that the VIT B model seems to work really well, and we'll just leave it on that. The inpainting, we can mess with the padding for the blur. I think I do want to bring it up to 6. Leave the denoising the same. Because what it's doing is it's actually removing, and this may actually help with what we were doing before. Like if I left it on original, you would actually have some context as to what it is I want to do there. And I could actually bring this down, and what it would do is it would just take all those balloons and it'll actually re-render more balloons there. So you can kind of mess with this if you want to figure that out. We're going to do fill on this. I believe ControlNet's still enabled, open pose, because what we're going to be doing is replacing the woman with a young man in a suit. So let's go ahead and run that. Now here's something to be aware of. Oh, you know, I think since I fixed the issue I was having before with the grounded Dino, it doesn't have that issue. I was saying anytime you change this, it has to re-detect the mask, but it doesn't have to do that. And there we go. So if we bring up the original image, there you go. And fairly similar. Now again and you can tell that it got the exact mask of the person. Did a great job replacing it. Now there's some other options in here. I want to say you can actually have it avoid things. Like let's say, for instance, we wanted to replace the young woman in a green dress and brown boots. Normally what it would do is mask out the entire person. And I want to replace it with an old man in overalls holding balloons. I don't think we need the holding balloons. Okay, so we're going to leave that there. Now in the avoidance, let's actually just put in face. Let's do this. Woman's face. I don't think that matters. Okay, and I don't know if I need to do anything else. You can actually draw a mask as well. Oops. Let's go grab that picture again here. So you can actually draw in a mask, or you can let the avoidance prompt try to find it for you. Let's try that first and see what it does. Just give it a second to run through this. Interesting. Okay, so an old man in overalls. Did I miss something here? Let's see, what did we do? Let's try that in there. This is actually my first time messing with this, so let's see, did we miss something? I don't think so. Let's try that one more time. Okay, I think I've got it here. This was a little interesting. In the avoidance, I actually took out woman's face because I think what it was doing is it was interpreting just woman and like masking out the whole body, overriding anything. So what I did is instead of doing that, I just used this. I said create canvas, and it brings over the image that we have under generation image here. And I just masked out what I didn't want it to replace. And so by doing that, it actually created exactly what I wanted. We got the overalls instead of the dress. So we can do that and be able to get a little more specificity in what it is we're trying to do. Like for instance, let's try the inverse of that. So let's get rid of this and let's change that so we can draw a little quicker. Let's just try that. Just having a little fun. So it did work. It looks like it's taking into consideration the body or whatever, because it did an old woman instead of an old man. Now we could probably emphasize that, but I'm not going to fight with it right now. You could just put some emphasis around old man and it would actually take that into account. So being that as is, let's try going back to what we were doing before with the balloons. I want to try that again because I believe I understand now a little bit more about what's going on there. So what we're going to do is colorful balloons, and then we're going to put in green balloons. And then what we're going to do under inpainting here is we're going to tell it to do original, and we're going to drop this down to 86. I just want to see what happens here. And then we're going to shut off control net. We don't need that taking up any kind of processor time. Soft inpainting is going to be interesting. I might mess with that later. That kind of helps, again, like if you have something you want it to look like, it helps bring that in a little bit more, but let's just try that. So it still masked out her face. So if you wanted to avoid that, what we're going to do is come in here and just go like this. It did add more green balloons, but not as many as I'd want. So we're actually going to do this, do it again. Again, this is all about experimenting, playing, having fun with it. Okay, still not what I want. It's closer, and we're getting more green balloons there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn this all the way up to 1. We're also going to, where was it? Switch this back to fill, and then we're going to go down to control net again. We're going to enable this. We're going to switch this over to Canny. It'll give us options here on Canny, but for the most part, I'm going to leave that as is. And just hit run on that. Okay, so a couple things. Yeah, we definitely got the green balloons-ish. They're not as vivid as I would like them to be, and I believe that's probably going to be due to settings down here in ControlNet. But one thing I had to change, because I'm using an SDXL model, when selecting Canny, by default, it selected this Control LoRa Canny Rank 128 that I have installed, or maybe that came with it, I'm not sure. So I had to switch it down to one of the XL Canny models, which worked better. So it actually gave me what I wanted. In the meantime, though, I'm going to try switching this down to 0.6. And then for the ending control step, all I want it to do is get the basic structure. And I'm going to let it run wild with the balloons themselves. So the balloons are more vivid. I'm not going to deal with this too much. You get the idea. Once you masked out her face, because of the masking issues we were having, it tended to do a lot better. And I'm going to try one more time. We're going to emphasize this just to see if we can't get it to do a little bit better. And I'm actually going to do something. This is another prompting technique when dealing with colors. If you can, try to include a descriptive before the color, like emerald green. A lot of the times that, well, most of the time, that actually helps the AI really understand what it is you want. So let's just see if it works here. I would say that that is much better. Now we're still getting some yellow ones in there, and that's totally fine. What's interesting about that is I could go like this and go yellow balloons. And what I would do is actually take this, see if it'll let me drag here. Yeah, there we go. And just rerun that again, and it would find the yellow balloons, at least it should, and mask those out and just replace them with emerald green balloons. So this was interesting. I did, how do I put this? So I rendered it. It did nothing with the yellow balloons. And I got looking at the image, I'm like, okay. So my guess is it didn't identify those yellow balloons as yellow balloons. So I had to think to myself, what do they look like? And I'm like, okay, well, I guess it might interpret them as lemons. So that's what I did. I put lemons in, and sure enough, it went through and it replaced at least most of them, except for the ones behind the mask right here, and for some reason this one. So I got these out here and this one out here, and replaced them with green and or other colored balloons. So fun. This is a fun extension to work with, and honestly, it's going to be fun integrating this into my online prompt generator, because right now there's really no option to manipulate images other than selecting, you know, the checkpoint, your sampler, aspect ratio, high res fix, enable a detailer, and some of those other things. But to be able to come over here and take an image and modify that image, you know, while still here without having to use your resources or whatever, I think would be extremely helpful to those who have subscribed to this. So I think I might do that. Since it's got an API, it'd be fun to at least try and get it working. Okay, so I believe that's really it. So this is just, once you get it installed and you start kind of messing with these settings, really just try it out. This actually would help you learn how to identify things, how to get to see what the AI is able to identify things as, like those balloons. It didn't see those as balloons, but it saw them as lemons. Very weird. And then replace them with stuff. So it even says, it says background here, like you could put background in and then put in something like fantasy landscape. Let's come down here and get rid of the avoidance. This may get a little weird. I tried this once before, and it does do some interesting stuff. We're going to shut off ControlNet. And generate. Yeah, didn't do what I thought it would. That'll take some experimenting, and honestly, that'll probably be something where you just come in here, generate the canvas and then just mask her out, or all the balloons, and then just tell it what you want. So, okay, that's it for today and for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed. Again, I keep forgetting to say like and subscribe at the beginning of the video. But if you're watching this far, I really appreciate the support. And if you haven't given my online prompt generator a try, it's not just a prompt generator anymore. This is a full-on image generation package for the most part. You generate your prompts, you can come in here and generate images, save your prompts, however you want to do it. You even have access to all the models that I have. You can mess around with any of those, along with the samplers and various other aspects of that. And we'll be adding more features as we go forward. So I've been loving it. Love seeing that people are using it. It's been great, and really enjoying it. So we'll talk to you all later.